The train hissed and coughed its way into the station at Bellwald, a forgotten mountain village in southern Switzerland. Thick mist clung to the steep pine-covered slopes like breath on a mirror. Elena Moreau stepped off, her velvet heels crunching on frost-dusted gravel. A chill trailed down her spine. But it wasn't the cold, it was something else, watching her. She'd inherited Villa Amsel from her estranged great-aunt, a woman no one in the family dared mention. Elena, a Parisian art restorer, had seen too many cracked icons and faded portraits to believe in ghost stories. But something about that old letter and the keys wrapped in black lace had pulled her here. The villa stood a few kilometers uphill, Gothic, brooding, with iron balconies and tall, arched windows like watching eyes. The front door creaked open before she touched it. Inside, it smelled of old perfume, wax, and something faintly metallic. She ran her hand along the walnut staircase rail. A soft whisper, like breath on her neck, made her freeze. She turned sharply. No one, just a large Venetian mirror, silver-framed and almost 7 feet tall, resting against the wall at the foot of the stairs. It hadn't been in the photos sent by the estate lawyer. Her reflection looked different. The hair was right, the curve of her lips, but her eyes seemed darker, more awake. That night, Elena bathed in the clawfoot tub by candlelight. The mountain wind howled through the shutters, but inside it was quiet, steamy. The candle flickered and she caught movement in the mirror across the bathroom wall. She turned. No one. But her reflection was not alone. A tall figure stood behind her in the glass, a man with no face, only darkness beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Her heart seized. She spun around, water sloshing, but the room was empty. Dripping, she approached the mirror, breath fogging its surface. She wrote with her fingertip. "Who are you?" The fog cleared slowly. Letters began to form, not from her touch. "I'm inside." She didn't sleep. Around 2:11 a.m. the music box in the hallway began to play. Elena hadn't touched it. It was a slow, sensual waltz, slightly off-key. She stepped out of bed, wearing only a silk slip. The corridor was moonlit and cold. Shadows pulsed on the wallpaper like breathing veins. At the end of the hall, the mirror waited, but it had changed. Instead of her reflection, the mirror showed another room, an identical hallway, but aged, rotting. The wallpaper peeled like old skin, the light was seeping, and walking toward her reflection, slowly, deliberately, was a woman, naked, pale, wet. Elena leaned closer. The woman had her face, except her eyes were stitched shut. The woman in the mirror smiled, and Elena felt her lips curl, without her control. The next day, Elena tried to leave. The car wouldn't start. The road had vanished beneath fresh snow, too deep for her to walk through. No signal, no village. She explored the villa instead. Behind the mirror, she discovered a hidden room lined with red velvet, erotic paintings, and dozens of antique mirrors stacked and draped in black cloth. In the center, an iron-framed bed, chains on the posts. On the walls were names carved in different languages: Lucia, Ibita, Monica, and Sinyanasha. All gone. At the back, a journal. She opened it. The first page read in crimson ink: "To be seen is to belong. To belong is to be taken. The mere desires what is forbidden."
Elena's hands trembled as she turned the brittle pages of the journal. Most of the writing had faded, but in the candlelight she could still make out certain lines. "The mirror feeds through seduction. Do not look when it whispers, and the body surrenders before the soul." A strange warmth crept through her, blooming low in her belly. The room felt charged, as if someone had just been there. The air pulsed, the red velvet walls seemed to breathe. Suddenly, she heard footsteps above, slow, deliberate, heel against wood. But she was alone, wasn't she? Elena clutched the journal and backed toward the door. As her bare foot touched the hall floor, the mirror in the hidden room groaned, glass flexing like muscle under pressure. She turned and saw herself again. Only now, her reflection was bound to the iron bed, wrists above her head, eyes wide in both terror and pleasure. Her body arched as invisible hands caressed her in ways Elena could feel, even from across the room. Her lips parted, she gasped, but the mirror version didn't mimic her. It watched her, mocked her, and then whispered, "Do you want to know how she died?" She slammed the door shut. The house moaned, not creaked, moaned, like an old lover stirred from sleep. In the hallway, every mirror was uncovered now. She hadn't touched them, and in each one, a different version of herself stared back, some crying, some screaming, one biting down hard on a black rose, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. She tried to cover them with sheets from the linen cabinet, but they fell away seconds later, as if the mirrors rejected the fabric, as if they wanted to be seen, to show her things. A sharp gasp escaped from one of the mirrors. It wasn't hers. It was coming from behind her. She turned. There stood a man, naked from the waist up, tall with the body of a dancer and skin pale like antique marble. His eyes were the color of old ash, dim but deep. He said nothing. He just walked toward her, barefoot, silent. The sensuality of his presence was immediate. He smelled of wood smoke and lilacs, but beneath that, something spoiled. She couldn't move, couldn't look away. She asked in a whisper, "Who are you?" His voice, low and rich, coiled in her ear like smoke. "I am what you reflect, what you repress, what the mirror remembers." She awoke hours later in the velvet room. How she'd gotten there she couldn't remember. The mirrors now lined every wall, polished and gleaming. The air was heavy with musk and myrrh. She lay on the iron bed, arms free, but her body felt marked, touched, explored. The journal rested beside her, open to a page she hadn't seen before. In her own handwriting, "Let him in." She recoiled, but another voice, her own but deeper, breathier, rose from the corner mirror. "You already did." Elena tried to stand, but her legs quivered beneath her. It felt like she'd run a fever dream through the night, her body aching in places she couldn't name. When she looked down at her thighs, she noticed something terrifying. Handprints, faint but large, as if someone had gripped her hard, held her open. But she'd been alone, hadn't she? The mirrors were still surrounding her, each one now fogged as though someone had breathed on the glass from inside. Shapes moved behind the condensation, not reflections, not her, other women. One had no face, only a long smile stretching from jaw to jaw. Another had animal eyes, flickering amber like a predator's. A third was touching herself in the exact way Elena had dreamed of the night before. And in the largest mirror directly across from the bed, he was watching her. The man, still bare-chested, still beautiful. But now his mouth had too many teeth. They weren't showing, but she could feel them in his smile. He raised a single hand and gestured slowly, beckoning her forward. "Come," the glass whispered, and Elena, terrified, aroused, confused, stepped toward the mirror barefoot. Her breath clouded the surface, and for a second she saw herself as she truly was, vulnerable, haunted, hollow-eyed. She reached out to touch the glass, and her hand passed through. It was like falling into warm water laced with honey and grief. The other side of the mirror wasn't a reflection, it was a room, alive and breathing like a beast's lung. The walls pulsed red and gold, the ceiling arched like a cathedral, and every corner was drenched in a dim, sensual light. But what chilled her was the sound. Moaning. Dozens of voices. Female. Familiar. She recognized her own voice among them. The man stood in the center of the room, but now he looked different. His skin was darker, almost bronze, and runes shimmered across his shoulders like glowing scars. His eyes glowed from within, not like fire, but like embers. He didn't walk toward her. He floated. "Elena," he said, not with his mouth, but with her thoughts. "You've tasted the edge. Now come to the core." She shuddered. "What are you?" He came close. His breath smelled like dying flowers and something addictive. "I am not a man. I am not a demon. I am the memory of every repressed desire, every forbidden pleasure, every reflection you've turned away from. And this," he gestured to the velvet room, "is where you learn what it means to be seen fully." And then he touched her. One finger, below her jaw, and every mirror in the room screamed. Not loudly, but whimpered, moaned, begged. One mirror shattered behind them, but Elena didn't flinch. She was too far gone. Later, whether minutes or hours she couldn't tell, Elena stood nude in front of a small circular mirror shaped like an eye. This one didn't fog. Instead, it bled. From its center, thin red veins ran down the glass like tears, and in it she saw the woman with the stitched eyes again. Only now the stitches were open, her eyes were gone, empty sockets oozing black, but her mouth moved. "You took my place. You're next." And then she lunged from inside the mirror. The stitched-eyed woman struck the glass. Her rotted fingers splayed across the surface like a starfish of bone. But the mirror didn't break. It pulsed, once, like something alive. A heart. Elena stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a velvet-covered pedestal. She gasped, heart hammering in her chest, as the woman inside the mirror began pressing through, her head emerging halfway from the surface like it was liquid mercury. Her mouth, smeared with something black and glossy, began to chant. Not in a language Elena understood, but in one her body remembered. Her knees weakened as that same familiar heat bloomed between her thighs, shameful, involuntary, ancient. "No," she whispered, voice cracking. "Stop." But the room responded like it disagreed. The velvet walls tightened, the mirrors rippled like pools disturbed by unseen fingers, and a low growl echoed from somewhere deep beneath the floor. And then he returned. The man, if he could still be called that, descended from above as if gravity itself bent to his will. His form had shifted again. His jaw was too long now, his torso wrapped in a lattice of black vines that moved and pulsed like arteries. Behind him, horns of glass spiraled like twisted mirrors. He landed inches from Elena, lifting her chin with a single finger. "You opened the eye," he said, voice like silk dragged over stone. "Now it sees you." "What is she?" Elena whispered, gesturing toward the stitched-eyed woman still struggling in the glass, caught between worlds. "She was the last," he replied. "She came before you. She begged to stay, but the mirror demands a new muse, a new reflection." He took her hand and pressed it against her own breast, holding it there. "You feel it, don't you? The pull, the pleasure, the surrender." And she did. It frightened her. But more than that, it thrilled her. Elena's body was hers, but not entirely anymore. In the hours, or perhaps days, that followed, Elena wandered the mirror world like a fevered dreamer in a palace of erotic decay. She found rooms filled with melted clocks and mannequins that watched her breathe. She passed hallways lined with portraits of herself, painted in styles from centuries apart, some regal, some grotesque, all erotic. She found a grand piano with fingers still playing, detached from a body long gone. The music, a lullaby she remembered from her mother's breast. But in one room, she found a mirror that wouldn't reflect her at all. Just a single line of blood written across it in cursive, "You're not you anymore." That night, lying on the velvet bed with her thighs slick with sweat and something else she dared not name, she touched herself, slowly, deliberately, while watching not her reflection, but the version of herself, still trapped in the bathroom mirror in Villa Amsel. The trapped Elena screamed, this Elena moaned. Their sounds began to synchronize, and the man watched, smiling. As her pleasure peaked, black vines erupted from the corners of the bed and crawled along her spine, etching symbols into her skin that burned and healed all at once. She cried out, but not from pain, from becoming. The next morning, if it was morning, Elena awoke to silence. The man was gone. The stitched-eyed woman was gone. Only the mirrors remained. But now they spoke. Every mirror in the hallway whispered with different voices, women, men, children, even her own voice, begging, pleading, moaning, laughing. She stepped into a chamber-lined wall-to-wall with mouths. No faces, just lips carved from polished stone, whispering into her ears in dozens of languages, "He chose you. He'll devour you. You're almost perfect. Do you like the taste of yourself? Don't turn around." Elena froze. The last voice came from inside her head. Her breath caught, her skin crawled, her nipples hardened from cold or fear or both. Then she heard it again, A slow exhale behind her. Warm, hungry, close. She turned, and what she saw wasn't him, it was her, but pregnant, stomach round, skin glowing, eyes dead, a cruel smile on her lips. And she said, "You'll be the mirror soon." Elena screamed, but her pregnant reflection didn't move, didn't blink. She just stood there, gently caressing her swollen belly, her smile widening, inhuman now, split too far across her cheeks. Then, from behind that grotesque mirror, Elena, he appeared again. But not the man she'd seen before. No. This version of him was translucent, a shifting mass of writhing shadows and eyes, limbs forming and unforming. From the center of his formless chest, a face pushed forward, a human face, her great aunt's, pale and twisted in eternal ecstasy or agony. Elena backed away, heart slamming in her chest, but every direction led to mirrors, and every mirror showed a different fate. In one, she was burning, arms outstretched, laughing. In another, she was trapped behind glass, clawing endlessly. In a third, she was giving birth. But what came out wasn't human. She whispered, "I want to go back." A hiss echoed around her. "You never left." Then silence. Everything faded. Days later. Villa Amsel was sold to a Belgian developer. When his team arrived to gut the place for renovations, they found the velvet room sealed shut. No doors, no entry. Just mirrors, leaned perfectly against the walls, too heavy to lift, too cold to touch. In the largest one, the workers swore they could see a woman standing barefoot in a red-lit room. She looked familiar. She pressed her hand against the glass, smiled and whispered, "You're watching me. That means I'm already watching you." The screen fades to black. A faint, distant knock echoes 3 times, then a whisper, barely audible. "Check your mirror." Enjoyed the story? If the reflection gave you chills, then don't let the darkness stop here, like if you felt the goosebumps. Comment what you think happened to Elena. Share this with a friend who checks the mirror a little too often. And most importantly, subscribe for more twisted horror, dark mysteries, and seductive nightmares. You never know. The next story might be watching you.